as social entrepreneurs, we're often quite idealistic when we start our social enterprises, and need to include the business side of things equally with the social side of things. So let's just open up the floor, and does anyone want to jump in with anything to start? Maybe I'll start with a question. Do we feel that there are enough resources available for social enterprises starting up and growing, or does anyone think that there might be a gap? What do you think?
Kristen?
Oh, hi there, Helen. Yeah, I feel like there is a bit of a gap, and myself personally have come up with some what I thought were great ideas and for social enterprises, and really just come up with a concept, but then it's always that financial burden about how do you actually take it to that next stage, and how do you bridge that gap. And then I'm obviously aware of sort of crowdfunding platforms, and whether you're connected to other people that have availability to that. But if you take those two things away, do you have any sort of recommendations for avenues to explore?
Not really. I mean, I'm not an expert in this, and I don't really have advice to give on this, but does someone else have anything they'd like to say to answer that question? Have you put your, can you put your comments in the collaborative document, and then we can connect people later if that's useful? Cool. So do you, is it at the very beginning that you find there's a gap in resources? At the very beginning of starting a social enterprise?
Yeah, I mean, I just, in terms of like, there always becomes a point where you need, I feel like you need a financial investment to sort of begin the cycle of what you want to do, and whether that in itself produces revenue to make it sustainable in the long term. But I feel like that initial sort of seed money, yeah, I think at that point is sort of what I'm referring to.
Okay. Does anyone have some? Oh, hello. Has this got something to add, John?
Yeah. So I am one of a couple staff people for the Inspiral Foundation, which is supports a network of social entrepreneurs and freelancers, people trying to do impact. We've been around for a little over coming on a decade now, and I think we're kind of a charitable organization with the entrepreneurial attitude, but we're set up as an LLC with a charitable constitution. It's been interesting. I feel like we're established a bit, but looking to kind of go to a second stage of sorts. And it's been interesting, just some of the limitations that we found. Even like, it would be a lot easier if we had charitable status, just we would get access to Google Suite, like we could give everybody, all 120 of our members, an inspiral.com email address and access in that way. And yeah, just looking kind of for like, we're developing different kind of value add services, but also I think, have come up to a point, especially with myself working 2 days a week and another person in my role, that are kind of the more leaderful roles in the network, like getting some seed money for that position to really show its worth, both within the network and the companies who are associated. Right now we're doing it through sponsorships. But yeah, we did find, kind of as we realized that we wanted to have all of the kind of key roles that kept the network going, that we needed to have some sort of sponsorship model to fund that. And so it's been interesting, kind of trying to figure out how to reach out to foundations and things like this, and just kind of finding ourselves in this awkward in-between place, not exactly a charity, but also not trying to really go at being a transactional business. And a lot of our impacts are intangible for a lot of folks. We've started doing impact reporting around how many different ventures have come out of the ecosystem, and we're getting some numbers, but then it brings us back to the grant space in some ways. And yeah, so it's been a little tricky.
Okay, thanks, John. So I feel a bit rude with my video off, so I'll turn it on for a little bit and see what happens. So it looks like both John and Chris, there might be some gap in finding seed funding, or where to sit between grant funding and making just straight profit. Would that be right? Yeah, okay, cool. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to contribute?
Kia ora, everyone. I've worked with a few social enterprises, especially in the startup phase, and I think some of the biggest learnings we've seen along the way is that a social enterprise needs to really knuckle down a business model to start with, as well, while holding the tension of having an impact model. Because if it can't be a business in its own right and earn revenue and make a profit, then you can't continue to be sustainable and have impact into the future. So going back to, was it Chris's question about how do you get access to upfront funding? I mean, that's got to be a question. It's got to be a valid business model first, not just hang off being a social enterprise or an impact venture. So I wonder how, perhaps, do we need more support around just trying to make sure our ventures pass that business test first?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Antz, because as I said in the intro, we start off with really high ideals and sometimes forget about the business case at the beginning. But if we don't have a good business strategy, we're not going to fulfill our environmental goals anyway. Does anyone else like to jump in? I'll turn my video off because my internet's not so good again. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Anyone who has any other problems or advice they would like to bring up?
Just linking into what Antz said, I think what I see a lot is the bringing together of how you're going to make money, the commercial part of it with the impact, and that's quite a tricky process. So I think focusing on how you're going to bring the two together is really important. I suppose a question for the room, is that something that is tricky for people, thinking about how you want to have impact, but then how you're actually going to bring in the revenue to enable you to survive and be sustainable, not just in the long term, but just in the immediate term? And to get into that, I suppose what you were saying, Chris, how do you get started? Yeah, what do people think?
I just think go into it with a long runway. We do need to have an intention of making money. Otherwise, we'd be doing a disservice to ourselves and the impact that we're looking to have. And at the same time, it will take time, and we need to have a financial runway to make sure that we can sustain ourselves for what could be a couple of years at least.
One offer out, because it sounds like that balancing piece of, you know, where you want to focus is maybe something that is, you know, at the forefront for people in the room. Part of the work that I'm doing is, and Matthew mentioned it this morning if anyone was at that session, is a capability diagnostic tool. So that's with me in the final refinement, and the next stage is actually sending it out so people can start filling it out. And the intention is that afterwards you have clear direction across 9 different areas of the capabilities that we think you need for getting an impact focused organization off the ground. So if anyone's interested in filling that out and being part of that first round, I'll chuck my email address in, and just please give me an email, or if there's somewhere else that I can put it, maybe it's in that collaborative spreadsheet or form.
Yeah, Laura, that'd be great if you could put it in the collaborative document. So who are you working with?
I'm with the Akina Foundation.
Oh, yeah, cool. Okay, great, thank you. So the Akina Foundation has got some really good resources as part of the Impact Initiative on starting a social enterprise. Chris, do you know about that? The Impact Initiative resources? No answer there. That's okay. Anyone else would like to say something?
I guess I'll just hop in really quick with my other hat on. I work for the Lumia Cooperative, and just want to express gratitude to the Akina Foundation, because I believe it was, I'm not sure the name of the grant exactly, but through a grant with them, we were able to do quite a bit of work on our constitution to make, so Lumio is a social enterprise and a worker cooperative. It's actually one of the first worker cooperatives in New Zealand. So we had to do quite a bit of work on the legal entity for that, but then we found that there's a number of investors who don't really know what a cooperative is, even though we really wanted to, well, and at the same time, we really want to preserve our cooperative ethics of the people doing the work, and also, you know, respecting the users of our tool and platform to have a voice, and that, you know, that's basically our vision as a company anyway, through the tool, that everyone involved can have a voice. And so it was awesome to be able to, we had to do quite a bit of work to basically restructure to keep our cooperative ethics, but create a sort of vehicle. We're actually now a cooperative holding company that owns the operational team that looks a little bit more like a standard company, that is Lumio LLC. And so this is really giving us a nice lease on some second stage capital. So yeah, it's interesting. I guess that's just to point to another gap as well. Like, it was like quite a lot of development, and it was only through having a little bit of capital support to get some lawyers in the room, but still a lot of legwork to develop the legal model to both preserve that cooperative ethic, that the workers are in control, and be investable.
Great, thanks, John. That's good. Is there anyone in the room who is thinking about starting a social enterprise, or has just started and would like to put their hand up and introduce themselves? Maybe there's someone else in the room who can help them out if they have a question. Tessa, yes.
Hi everyone. I've started up a social enterprise called New Zealand Food Waste Champions recently. So we've got 12 people from across the food supply chain who want to lead in reducing food waste with the goal of halving food waste by 2030. And I guess my question maybe to people in the room is, anyone else working on environmental initiatives and how to, I guess think about the profit-making side of that when you've got a very clear environmental objective as well.
Hi, I'm Ger from the Recreators. So we run an upcycle collective, and I'm not sure it is environmental with the social pays people. I wouldn't say I run it at a profit at the moment, but I do pay people a decent wage, and I do it by trying to procure contracts through local government, and then using their free advertising in the community. Then it kind of is like free advertising to other businesses who also procure our services. And I make sure that when anybody asks me for a quote in terms of the work that we provide, it's a really transparent quote. So I go through every line by line about how much everybody's paid, what the materials are, transport, whatever, admin costs. And so it's really clear. And so that nobody ever generally argues with the cost of our services. But I wouldn't necessarily say, well, at the moment it's profit, but it does, it pays people a decent wage and it earns an income. If that answers your question.
Yeah, awesome, thanks.
Great, thank you. And remember if you put your email in the collaborative document, then you can meet up with people afterwards as well if you want to more contact there. Has anyone else got an answer for Tessa, or does anyone else have something they'd like to say? Oh yes, Ting.
Kia ora, Tessa. I'm Ting here. I'm based in Queenstown, and I'm on the board of an organization called Sustainable Queenstown, and we have a few different projects going, tackling various challenges as it relates to the environment. So everything from climate change to reducing plastic waste, single-use plastic waste. And because we're a charitable organization, a lot of our projects are funded through grants or council funding that we have to apply for. But we are exploring two projects that are initiatives that should be self-funding over time. But to Chris's point, I think it's still quite difficult finding that initial seed funding to build capacity, both in terms of, sometimes equipment needed. So for instance, one of our initiatives is called Disrupt, which is essentially disrupting single-use plastics at events. But that requires building up capacity in terms of equipment and also staffing for operational side of things. And that's the part I find really tricky. Like I've helped find funding for projects for a few different projects, but the initial seeding part is always the most difficult, particularly as it relates to operational budgets. A lot of funds just, are only for equipment rather than operations. So yeah, I haven't found the silver bullet. It kind of seems to, it's quite different based on, what the initiatives are and who might be keen to support those initiatives. A lot of times I find just about finding the right alignment in terms of goals, whether it's through local council, sponsors, businesses, grants, etc. But I'm a firm believer in self-sustaining financial side of things for enterprises. I think it's really unsustainable to have to go for annual grant applications all the time. It's a very grueling process.
Great, thank you, Ting. Anyone else have anything? We've got a few minutes left. Anyone else got something that they'd like to say? Feeling a bit shy maybe, but now's your time.
Yeah, we have Eric
yes.
here. I'll pass the mic to Eric.
Good, awesome. Hey guys, my name is Eric Trusser. I'm the co-founder of the Cookie Project. So we employ people with disabilities to make delicious cookies. We've been around for about 22 months now, and we did the most difficult part, but also allows us for long-term growth. So we have deliberately chosen a for-profit legal structure for 3 reasons: for agility, scalability, and also sustainability as well. We deliberately did not choose a charity structure because we looked at all the social enterprises around the world that caters for disability community, and we found that the charity structure sometimes will encourage sort of sitting in the very comfortable zone within a box rather than thinking outside the square and working harder. How we get to where we are today is actually by doing what we call the MVP model, minimum viable product. We didn't actually go all out with a very fancy packaging or a all out really big bang marketing campaign. We started off with a Gmail account and Facebook, and that was it. So we kept our costs really, really low. In terms of the impact that we're trying to create, we were trying to get people with disability into employment and upskilling them as well. So one of the things that we actually did very differently compared to everyone else is looking at employment contract that actually suits what the impact target group is needing, which is they don't want a full-time job, they don't want a part-time job, they just want to have a chance to actually get into employment. What that means from us is that we were able to actually control the cost components so that we only bake when there's an order coming through our system. The other thing that I'd love to share with you guys is don't be afraid to approach other big brother or big sister social enterprise out there who may have assets or equipment that they can lend to you. So for example, in our case, when we first started, we didn't actually have a proper kitchen. And so we sort of scanned around and thought, oh, we need a bigger kitchen and all that. And we thought, hey, how about we approach Eat My Lunch, Lisa King, because they only make lunches. What happens after lunch? So we approached Lisa King through the website and met up with her. And within the first 20 minutes, she said, Eric, it's a no-brainer. How can we help you? And that's how we managed to actually save a substantial cost by having the generosity and kindness from Lisa King to use her kitchen for free for the first year. And how we are repaying that kindness is that now we are actually on the process of moving to our own kitchen. And we're going to pay forward Lisa King's kindness by offering our kitchen for free to help other vulnerable communities. So those are some of the tips that we can sort of share with you based on our own experience. But I think I just want to echo Ting's point as well in terms of, when you are looking to really scale up later on, it's very important that you are able to demonstrate to investors your financial discipline to make sure that you really think through about all the financial mechanics, all the financial levers, and able to demonstrate how you are staying on top of the game when it comes to numbers and financials. So
thanks, Eric. Yeah, that's really good. So I think, although we don't have a magic conclusion for everybody, I think that setting up a really good business case in the first place and getting advice from an accountant or a business mentor is really good. And like Eric said, talk to other bigger social enterprises, because actually that's a really good use of resources. There's no point everybody building a kitchen and then only using it for half the day, and then pay that forward when you can later on.
And it's such a great way to have proof of concept without investing a ton in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. So I think are we pretty much out of time, Kit? Do we have to finish up at 4:27?
There's another couple of minutes if there's any kind of closing remarks, and then we can make our way to the Aroha room.
Okay. So thank you for coming. I think if you put your details into the collaboration form, and if there's someone who's talked or you want to join up with later on, don't be afraid to give them an email and see if they can help you or you can help them.
Yeah, happy to give more information about the projects I've worked on and give people ideas if you'd like to reach out. I've put my contacts in the collaborative doc.
Great, thanks very much.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. This was a truly collaborative session, which was so lovely to see. So thanks for everyone's great ideas and energy, and be sure and use that collaborative doc. Look forward to seeing you all in the Aroha room, and Helen, thanks for facilitating this session. Ka kite anō. See you soon.
Great.